My name is Jacob McGregor. I'm from Wanganui originally and now live in Wellington. I work as a Māori Communications Advisor at Punikokiri, which is the Ministry for Māori Development in New Zealand. The Ministry for Māori Development was set up essentially to support the development of Māori people by the Indigenous people of Aotearoa, New Zealand. So the Ministry is responsible for managing funds, different investment initiatives that support Māori development, whether that be in housing, where we support them in building their own papakainga, which are houses for them to live on in their own tribal land, whether that's supporting youth suicide prevention initiatives, like different dance initiatives or conservation initiatives where youth are supported basically just with their mental health. We as TPK support Māori development, so our vision is that Māori families or whānau will thrive in everything they do. One thing that makes us unique to other ministries is because we're a ministry that's set up for Māori specifically, we have embedded all of those values that are akin to Māori people into what we do. So we have four main values that are all about caring for people, pursuing excellence, maintaining integrity and collaboration, making sure that we work together, and we really try and emphasize that in all the work that we do. So when I come here and work, it feels like I'm coming home. One of the hardest parts about working here is that we're working on the side of the Crown. So when New Zealand set up, basically we have a treaty that's a part of our constitution, the Treaty of Waitangi between Māori people and the Crown. The Crown being the Queen initially, and now she has representatives, and they're just the New Zealand government that was set up. But since that was signed back in 1840, there have just been multiple times when the treaty wasn't honoured, when land was taken from us, our language was outlawed, our culture, our religion, everything that was spiritually significant to us was taken away from us. So we've had all these negative actions from the Crown, and it's really challenging now being a Māori person working within that system and trying to get better outcomes when that system, when it was initially set up, was set up against Māori people and set up in a way that would mean Māori people are disadvantaged and white people especially were advantaged. So it's really difficult in that aspect, and we get that all the time when we go home and we have family who will mock us or berate us because we're working on the Crown side. That's a difficult aspect to try and deal with. And when it comes to communications, that's what we're facing when we're trying to put out positive stories and trying to highlight the good things that our ministry is doing for Māori people. And then you just have all these presumptions about what the Crown is and what the Crown actually does these days, and people fail to see the good in what we're doing and will immediately just point out the fact that, but you're still the Crown and the Crown's doing this, and it's really just patronising still, and you're still just giving handouts and not actually changing anything significant, even though we do impact a lot of people's lives. So a challenge is being able to get together all those positive stories and showcase them and highlight them when we have just a lot of work to do, a lot of things that we want to do and little resource to be able to do it. To help mitigate all of those issues that surround the treaty and all the issues that have stemmed from that, specifically ignorance towards what we do as a ministry, as the Ministry for Māori Development. I think the best way to tackle all of those issues that stem originally from the treaty and a failure to acknowledge it is education and learning about the history of the place that you're visiting, learning about the land that you're on, trying to do the best to make yourself aware of all of the little intricacies and different things that have occurred in history that have formed this environment that you live in. So here in Wellington, acknowledging the capital of New Zealand, acknowledging the mana whenua, we call them, or the people whose land this actually was. And at TPK we try to do our best to honour that relationship as well. So even though we're the Ministry for Māori Development and most of us are Māori who work there, we still recognise that we're representing the Crown, and so we try to do our best to reduce harm and reduce historical trauma from being brought up by working with the local iwi, making sure we're honouring those sorts of partnerships. And one thing that we do as well in the public sector is that we often give advice to other departments and other ministries regarding how best to work with Māori and how best to navigate a post-treaty settlement area and climate, because that's what we're moving into. Back in the 80s, they set up the Waitangi Tribunal, and from there they've been going through different claims to try and make right what was done wrong from 1840 right through to mid-last century. And some things are still being perpetrated. I studied Te Reo Māori, the Māori language, up at university. I've been learning since I was young, and we've had a long journey with the Māori language in New Zealand, and that it was outlawed and couldn't be spoken in schools, and our grandparents would be beaten for speaking the language. And that's a narrative that's a lot of Indigenous people can empathise with. And since those days, we've come a long way where now all of my generation, the first language they're teaching the kids is Te Reo Māori, and we have lots of different language revitalisation strategies. So every time I get to work on any work that helps support that journey and support that revitalisation, I'm stoked and I'm really happy. There have definitely been times where I've doubted the validity of some of the things we do, or I've questioned whether or not I should be involved, and some of them I hear because my people, and my tribe specifically, are impacted by the work that we're doing on the other side, and it's really difficult when you're on the Crown side to disassociate from your tribal relations and disassociate from that identity and to just do the work. And I don't think that's something that it's really possible for a lot of us to do. So when it comes to that, how I reconcile that is I just step away from work when I know it's going to directly impact my people. And we're now coming up to the end of all of those settlements, and it's a really interesting environment. How do we now work together as Māori and as Pākehā, and we have all these other people groups who now live here, and we have all these other ideas and ideologies, and we're moving internationally and everything like that. It's a really interesting environment to be working in, and I think the best way to mitigate that and make sure that we're reducing as much harm as possible to Indigenous people, to Māori specifically, is to be educated and do our best to be informed.